Let's talk about wedding photography, and more importantly, photographing your first wedding. Weddings can be really daunting, and especially as a beginner who might have just picked up their first camera, not really knowing like the direction they want to go in. Rocking up to a wedding venue you've never really been to before, you don't know the people there, there's loads of guests, and you're just a bit like, I don't really know what I'm doing. It is really daunting. But when you go back over the photos you get and you see everyone enjoying the moments of the day and everyone having a blast, you know, the bride and groom are with their friends and family, and you're photographing someone's happiest day of their life. I honestly can't think of a better way to spend my day with a camera in my hand than photographing a wedding. It is so much fun. So this video today is just really about tips to photograph your first wedding. I've got a little list of 8 which I think are super useful, and hopefully you do too. So without further ado, let's get into it. I photographed my first wedding for a pizza, and I wanted to talk to you about the 8 things that I wish I knew and I wish I did a bit better whilst photographing that wedding in exchange for a pizza. Tip number 1, and like a lot of the tips on this list today, it's not about using your camera. The first thing I would say to prepare yourself for photographing your first wedding is meet the couple beforehand. I like to set up in-person meetings, Zoom meetings, basically just meeting kind of face to face, because it helps settle the nerves, it helps you understand what they want and what you want from the day. It's also really good if it is your first wedding to help just set some expectations, and also it's just a lot more personal than words on a screen and emails. Alright, tip number 2. So I think my second tip for shooting weddings is to sort out your gear beforehand. This can be interpreted in 2 ways, and I think both are as applicable as each other. The first one is sort out your gear the night before. Make sure everything's charged, make sure you've got your right camera, your right lenses, you know, your camera straps if you're going to use them, your flash, everything you might need for a wedding day. Make sure it's all charged in your camera bag and downstairs, ready to go. It's a massive weight off, so you don't have to wake up like 30 minutes before and like panic, shit, have I got everything? It's all there, it's all done, go and smash the wedding. And the second way is sort out your gear in a more physical sense. So have you got the right camera bodies? Have you got the right lenses? Have you got enough batteries, enough SD cards? You know, wedding photography can be quite a big investment to begin with, but once you've sorted like the main bulk of your gear, you don't really have to spend much more after that. I'd strongly advise having 2 camera bodies, preferably ones with dual card slots so it can automatically back your photos up. I'd really recommend getting a wide lens and a tight lens, maybe like a 35 and a 50 or an 85 or a 35 and a 24 to 70, whatever you've got at your disposal, whatever the cheapest way of doing it. You don't need 1.4s. As a creative endeavour, you can go down to 1.2 and it's like, it's lush, but you don't need it for photographing your first wedding. As long as you've got 2 camera bodies, 2 lenses, a few batteries so you're not going to be stressed, and enough memory cards that you can shoot like multiple weddings on them and still have a few memory cards left over, I think you'd be absolutely fine with that. Your ability to photograph the day is paramount, and I implore anybody who's starting to do wedding photography to just sink a bit of money into getting the right gear first so you can do it to the best of your ability. Alright, here's tip number 3. Get to the venue early. I can't put this, I've not done this in like order, like 1 to 8 of importance, but this one is high up on my list of like most important things to do. I love getting to venues early because you can head out, if you've got like 20-30 minutes all to yourself. You can scout out all the different locations that are either on site or close by. You can take some scene setting photos to really like set the mood and the tone of the day, and also it means you're not going to be late, which is key. This is honestly so high up on my to-do list, and even now I still get there early. As you do more and more weddings, you'll find yourself needing to get to places less and less early. And especially if you've done venues before, like when you start repeating venues, you'll know where the good spots are for couple stuff, for group portraits, things like that. It's still nice to get scene setting photos because, you know, different day, different couple, different vibe. But yeah, definitely get there early. Go and scout out the lighting, go and scout out photo locations, take some scene setting shots, and then go to the bride and groom, introduce yourself. Sometimes this tip will be a little bit redundant because your couple might be getting ready somewhere else. So, you know, even if they are getting ready at like a hotel, an Airbnb, at their house, head on over a little bit early still, get some scene setting shots, introduce yourself, and just crack on with the day as normal. But obviously, when you get to the venue, it might be a bit hectic because you've never been there before. Well, if it's your first wedding, you'll definitely never been there before. So take a bit of time, head over to the page, like their Instagram page, head over to like the tagged section and just get some inspiration. Or, you know, even better, when you've got 5-10 minutes, find the wedding coordinator and just ask them, never been here before, where do people normally do group shots? Where do people normally do couple portraits? Wedding venue people are so helpful, and they'll point you in the right direction without any questioning. So don't worry about being embarrassed about that. They'll help you out to no end because 99.9% of them are amazing. Okay, tip number 4. Now I did this all the time as a beginner wedding photographer when I didn't really know what to do. I didn't have much inspiration. I didn't know what kind of photos people wanted. I went to Pinterest, I went to Instagram, and I basically just copied. You know, I had like a shot list that I liked. I had like inspiration feeds on my Instagram and stuff like that. And I think my tip is, don't do that. It's really important to shoot for your client and not for yourself. You know, we're all photographers. We all use Instagram, we all use TikTok, we all use these social medias where we can show off our amazing photos and things like that. And yeah, I think it's really important that we photograph what the client wants and not what the people who follow you on social media would want to see. It does kind of contradict a little bit what I just said about checking for inspiration at a venue's feed if you've got a bit of time and you've never been there before. But don't copy the images, just use that for like location scout. If you check Pinterest and check Instagram and you follow all these accounts, you'll find a lot of staged, posed couple stuff, which looks super nice and your clients will be buzzing with the photos they get. But I also don't think it's quite reflective of the day. Like 90% of the wedding day will be your couple interacting with their friends and family, and to me that's what makes the nicest photos, is the moments, the little bits of conversation and laughter that you might capture on camera, which will be forever remembered, rather than let's go over here and do this for an hour and we'll pose you in all these positions and we'll set it all up and it'll look well nice. But to me that's not what's important. I definitely think there's space for the more posy, the more staged wedding photography. Obviously I love seeing it when it comes up. I'm like, oh my god, that's well nice. But I definitely think for your first wedding, I'd recommend just smashing the candids, like getting as many moments as you can on camera, instead of saying, let's go over here for an hour to copy all these Instagram and Pinterest poses I've found. You know, but this also goes back to my first tip, which is meeting your clients beforehand. If the posy stage stuff is what your clients want, ignore this tip. And if they're like way more focused on the candid side of stuff, then yeah, just like smash out candids all day. Don't worry about the perfect composition with it. Just get the moments with like mums, dads, grandmas, brothers, sisters, best mates, all that kind of stuff. They're the bits that they'll remember forever. All right, halfway there. Tip number 5 is a real self-explanatory one, but one that I do not do even to this day, and you need to do it. It's take snacks and take water. Stay hydrated. Being on your feet for like 10, 11, sometimes 12 hours a day, just shooting constantly, you will forget to drink and you will absolutely forget to eat. So just take them with you. Even if you do what I do and forget, at least the thought's there. But try your best to just stay hydrated throughout the day, because it is a long day. Number 6, again, is something I am notoriously bad at forgetting to do until the last minute. So sometimes it's best to just get this out of the way as and when you remember. Details. 99% of the wedding day is about your couple and them interacting with their friends and family, and you getting the human interaction side. But people spend a lot of money on weddings and a lot of money on details, like the table layout, if there's like signs all around the venue saying like blah blah blah's wedding, this is happening today. People spend a lot of money on that, and you'd be genuinely surprised at how much people do spend. So, make sure you get the details, even if it's like the stupidest thing in the world and you're like, why is that there? Just take a photo of it. You never know what it might mean to someone. For example, the other day I was doing an elopement in Edinburgh, and well, it wasn't the other day, it was a few weeks ago. And they were getting ready in an Airbnb. It was so intimate and nice, and they had like a few stuffed toys around, and I didn't think anything of it, and I took a photo of said stuffed toy. I didn't even know it was theirs. It might have been part of the Airbnb, but I got this text, and it just goes to show that details are details, and people do like to see photos of them. So yeah, don't forget to do details. I forget all the time, but again, just try your best. My penultimate tip is one which just kind of makes you look better. And as a beginner photographer starting out in weddings, you might not be a beginner photographer, you might be doing your first wedding. This will just make you look infinitely better than a lot of other photographers out there. Send some photos the day after, or as soon as you possibly can, even if it's just 20 or 30 preview images. Send them over to them. They'll still be living in the moment of the wedding. They'll still be hyped up about the day they've just had, and it'll mean so much to them if they don't know it's going to happen. They're just like, oh my god, like here's some photos from yesterday, or even better, the night of. Like, just smash it out. It makes you look great, and it also gives you a bit of leeway with editing time. So if you said, oh, the photos will be 4 weeks, but you've already sent them like 30 or 40 images, and you're like a week late, they might not chase you because they've got some stuff to send to their family, send to their friends, post on social media, whatever they want to do with it. It's a really good idea, and I definitely think everyone should be doing this anyway. But yeah, just try and send some previews the day after, or the night of, or whenever you possibly can. It'll be invaluable. My last tip for this video is something that I did all of the time, and it relays back to the Instagram and Pinterest tip from earlier, is not necessarily copying, but shooting for social media. I would shoot, I think like the first 5 or 6 weddings I did, loads of my photos were shot portrait, subjects in the middle, so I could crop it how I wanted and post it on Instagram for everyone to see. We live in this era of social media and vertical content that it is quite hard to train your brain not to shoot like that, when that's ordinarily how a lot of people are going to see your work, is on a vertical screen like this. So yeah, it is really hard to train your brain not to shoot for Instagram. But if you can, try your best to shoot like a lot of landscape images. Portrait images are amazing and they look great. Like there's no bias against portrait images, but just play around with your framing a little bit. Like put heads at the top of the frame, try and like fill the frame with bodies, so that you're making the most of your camera and not just photographing for Instagram. I hope this was helpful for people who might be photographing their first wedding, and if there's any seasoned pros who've got more info or more tips and tricks that they know from their wedding days, pop them in the comments, open up a discussion. Let's just help each other, because it's such an amazing world to be in, wedding photography, and more people need to experience it. So yeah, if you've got any tips, chuck them down below, and likewise as a beginner, if you've got any questions, pop them down, and hopefully the more seasoned people and myself will drop a little reply, help you out as much as we can. So thanks for watching this video. I don't really know how to end these, but I appreciate you all for watching, and I'll catch you later.